We'll call this meeting to order at 6:33. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America, for which it's...
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There.
Can everyone hear me? Because I can't hear anyone.
I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. So next up is agenda review. I don't have any adjustments.
Chris, the only thing is we have on here that we need to approve the town meeting day ballot. We don't approve the ballot. That's my mistake. We just wanted to share it with you. The warning we approved, but I just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
Yep, just information, no action. Right. Okay, next up we have correspondence, visitors, and public comments. And we have a subtitle of In Appreciation.
Yes. So I have to do a thing. Hang on, ladies and gentlemen. It's not that exciting. I apologize for the buildup. Last year at this time, we recognized the board. This is Board Appreciation Month. And we were able to have a pizza gathering. Remember when we gathered and we had pizza together, and you each had like a picture of different collage of things thanking you from the different schools. Well, this year, obviously, we can't gather together and have pizza. But, and I was going to share my screen with the thank you certificate, but for some reason, when I do it, it won't show. It won't display it properly, so I'm not going to share that with you. But we have a thank you certificate for each board member that'll be mailed to your home, along with a collage of photos and thanks from each school. And I just wanted to say to you all how incredibly appreciative our administrative team, and I know the teachers are too, but we discussed it as administrators, and just having a school board that works together. So, you know, it doesn't mean people just don't disagree about things, but you work together so effectively. And your vision is always about all of our students. And you've given our administrators such support, particularly during this year that has been remarkable, to say the least. And we're very grateful that we have you supporting us through this past school year. And just can't thank you enough for the work that you do for our communities. So you should expect something in the mail shortly.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Not seeing anybody else raising their hand, and I don't believe we have any other visitor comments or public comments either. I don't see any visitors, so. Okay, so next up we have approval of meeting minutes from January 5th and January 12th. Entertain a motion to approve both unless somebody wants to do them individually.
I'll move to approve both.
Devin's a first on approving both. A second. Don's a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving January 5th and January 12th meeting minutes, raise your hand. Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Next up is our first presentations, which is the elementaries. I don't remember who I picked on last time to go first. I think it's Dina's turn to go first, but I'm not sure.
And Dina, do you want me to project your, share your report, or no? You just, okay. I always mean to ask that and I never do.
You're very kind to ask, but I think that's okay. People got it. So thanks, Chris. I always feel bad going last, so thanks. Um, just to start, some of the things that I focused on within our report. First of all, let me back up. Justina is not present tonight. She has a really bad back that she tweaked this weekend. So she apologizes for not being here, but she is icing right now and not in the best state of physical health at the moment, which is frustrating to her for sure. But right now, it feels really good being back at school. I don't like the word normal because normal wasn't like perfect in any way, but I think the word that we are using right now is familiar. We did, I think our teachers and our families did an outstanding job during our 7 remote days. And then unlike Franklin and Highgate, who had to kind of scramble and put something together for those 2 days after Christmas, I think we were lucky because it was just a continuation of what we were doing. I know my colleagues in Highgate and Franklin pulled it together, but I felt a little badly because we just kind of, our families and teachers just kind of followed that groove. And I have to say, we did a really good job keeping track of our kids over that time. Last spring, I know I talked about it was really easy to lose families, even though Justina or I were on the phone almost daily with some families. Hey, we haven't seen your kid, or we left message after message, but it was really hard during the spring. Over this last remote learning time, we, meaning myself, Justina, and our guidance team, if a kid didn't sign on one day, or there wasn't any parent contact, like Johnny's at daycare today, he's not going to be able to get on for morning meeting. If we didn't hear anything for even one day, then one of us made a call to the family just to see how are things going, what can we do to help. And there was probably, oh wow, I think when I looked at the numbers, there were maybe a total of 10 kids in the whole school, K to 6, which in Swanton is pretty good, who didn't participate really actively over those 9 total days. So 10 kids is 10 kids, and when they're back in our building, we're sweeping right up. But I think we did a really good job keeping track. Our teachers were really trying to engage them, and the counseling staff was just awesome. So that led us to coming back. Knock on wood, everybody has been healthy, including our staff. I did have to teach PE today for a little while, but that's always fun. But the momentum right now feels good. And I hate to say anything too soon because I don't want anything to happen. But it just feels familiar. Our teachers, our kids, the kids have been phenomenal with our classroom setups. Our behavior data this year is way down, and not being pessimistic, but I was really concerned once we all came back together that it wouldn't remain that way, and it has. And excuse me, at our next staff meeting, we're going to really try to dig into that. Is it that our desks are in rows? Is it that we're not all like 85 to 90 kids in a cafeteria for lunch? Smaller groups on the playground? It's just, we really want to try to dig a little bit deeper. But I truly believe that this block of time has been a really deep instructional time already. Routines are established, kids are into it, and teachers are glad to be face to face with their kids for sure. So that's just kind of, talking about where we are right now. Yesterday we had in-service, and in the morning we had a math menu review with Christian Cormacher. I believe I'm saying that right. And all of our classroom teachers took part in that. In the afternoon, we were lucky again to have Joelle Van Lent, who was talking with us about resiliency and self-compassion. And that was really directed at the staff, and the timing obviously is a really good time, but the skills and strategies that she always shares with us is good for us as the adults, but it's also then given to our students as well. So yesterday was a very successful day. We are moving into some of our assessments at this time of year too. So Deb Boucher and Jess Borbo have set that all up, and they're so supportive in that role to make sure that they can support teachers in getting that done. And I think the other really exciting thing, I have to shout out again to Mel Berthium. As you know, we took her out of the library this year, and she is a first grade teacher and is doing incredibly well, enjoying it, and really doing a good job for our kids. However, she hasn't totally left her librarian hat at home. The Red Clover Award is an award given out through Vermont for the best children's picture book, and Mel didn't want to lose that. So instead, she usually would have read it to the kids, all 10 books in their classroom. But instead, she got 10 of us, non-classroom teachers, to do a recording of the book. And then she's going to put it together in a little video slideshow. And each teacher throughout the day, a lot of them show little videos at lunch. So it might be a nice read aloud at lunch. So the kids will hear all 10 of the Red Clover nominees and get to vote on it. So I thought that was really ingenious, and it wasn't a loss for our kids. And it was truly above and beyond for Mel. She's got enough to do right now within her classroom, but the fact that she went that extra little bit was really great, I thought. So right now we are just kind of cruising along. We are working with our 6th grade team. I've been meeting with Julie on that, and we have some new things coming in trying to make sure that we are doing everything we can for our grade 6 students. And hopefully at our next meeting, I'll be able to let you know the details of all of that. But like I said, it just feels really good. And to echo what Julie said, this board has worked phenomenally hard and truly supportive through all of the transitions and now getting us through the budget season. So thank you.
Thank you, Dina. Any questions for Dina and Swanton? Seeing none, next up, we'll have Franklin and Joyce.
Sorry, I'm trying to use a magazine as my mouse pad. So I'm just going to go back, I guess, to right before the last board meeting. We had a positive case of COVID in the community that affected school, and we had to go remote. And I just wanted to go back to that with an update, because we were so pleased that most of our kids that had to either quarantine or be tested before coming back, it was the 14th when we had to go remote, and kids could get tested after 7 days, or if they had to quarantine, because day 0 was December 8th, they would have had to quarantine until the 22nd and hook that right up to vacation. So we were really pleased that most of our kids were able to get tested and came back prior to vacation. And even if it was only a couple of days before vacation, I felt that was really important, that our kids got back before the vacation. So that was great. We've continued our collaboration with the Stern Center. We were doing the Mind Play course, and we've had some days this year that we could use for consultation. We had a day that our younger grades teachers were scheduled, and they could discuss instructional strategies, analyze specific data, really talk with them about individual students who might have been struggling that they wanted to get other ideas for, and investigate, some possible other resources to help them. The teachers felt that time was so valuable. And we've got another day scheduled coming up where they're going to follow up with what they did, but we're also going to add the upper grades teachers having some consult time coming up on the next one. Before the holidays, I had mentioned that we were trying to keep everybody's spirits up, and with festive Fridays, and I put a few pictures in the report there so you could see how silly some of us looked in the spirit of trying to keep everybody's, having everybody fun. I want to thank Elsa Rude and Kathy Ovitt, because every couple of months they do something that's just kind of fun. And at the holidays, they put gingerbread people all around the school, and they do it like late at night. Like, I don't even know sometimes when they do it. And it's like magic when these things appear, and the staff and the kids just have such fun trying to, like, oh, there's another one and there's another one, and some are big and some are tiny, and trying to find out exactly how many there are in the whole school. And it's just something that, it's really going above and beyond for them. And literally they do it like late on a Friday night when nobody can see them and what they're putting up. So that's just really nice. And it really did help people's spirits. And at the last meeting I had mentioned, it was that we had just gotten back that day from bringing the donation over to the food shelf. And I had mentioned that again in my report, because that just was such an incredible effort by, people to do $1,400 and 16 boxes of food in a matter of 2 weeks. And it just really provided for an incredible number of families. And we hope just really brightened a lot of people's holidays. I want to thank Jen McConnell for the time and the effort to do the virtual winter concert. I don't know if anybody had a chance to watch a minute or two of it, but I have to me, that was a real picker-upper too. I mean, just the different photos that she put in and the transitions, and it just, see kids in snow, you can't beat that. And then to be singing too. It would have been a lot easier just to not do anything with all the things going on this year. And again, really trying to stick to our, keeping those annual events and those traditions. And I just think that's really important for kids and for staff and for community, that we keep having those things. So I hope you had a chance to take a peek at that. Still along those same lines, another tradition, Pete Magnet's brother, Tim, we always go on wagon rides around town to wish everybody happy holidays. And again, it was something that was a lot more difficult this year. Tim usually comes in and kind of eats all the snacks we have at school. It's, we give him lunch. And he just has it's just a really nice kind of time for him. And this year when I called him, I said, okay, Tim, you can't come inside. You can't help anybody up and down the steps into the wagon. You just got to sit in the wagon and drive. And you're going to have to do it a whole lot more times than we usually do, because we need to, we have some big classes. And even on a wagon the size of Tim's, to keep people physically distant, he had to go around the square a bunch more times this year. And we couldn't sing. But the kids played instruments, and we were able to say happy holidays to people, and again, just trying to keep those things, whether it's a pandemic or not. So I got to thank Tim for that. Hopefully next year he can get back inside and enjoy some of our holiday goodies. We had another great Reader's Theater presentation this time from 3rd grade. Their tradition is to do the Polar Express. And they were able to do it and present it virtually to other classes and to families. So Devin was there, and they really did a nice job with that. And again, different, but still really good. Then we had the break. Over the break, Steve concentrated again, just all the stuff that you usually do over vacation, but just more cleaning. And we're continuing to try to fill our custodial position. And so then after break, we were really glad to have those 2 remote days after the break. And we had decided we would just run those the way we had when we were hybrid. So it was very easy for students and for parents, keeping to that schedule. And it was really good to have those couple of days, because we definitely had staff members that, even though the test came back quickly, that we could have had some problems. And also families, I think, were able to take advantage of the time to get tested also. And we ended up on the Wednesday, we came back in person. We only had 2 staff members who were out, and it was nothing to do with COVID. And we had very, very few kids out. It's like a couple of kids out on that day that we came back. So I really thought that was really good that we had done that. And I have to tell you, more than one teacher made the comment about just how easily the kids got back into the routines. Like, I'm talking even like the 1st graders, but just how appreciative kids are about being in school. And, when they come in, and like a couple of the kids, when they came back after the quarantine or getting tested, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad to have you back. And they were like, I'm so glad to be back. And just, and I always think our kids have appreciated our school and staff, but it just feels like even more they appreciate being in school and being with their friends and the normalcy really of being in school. So it's just been really, really nice to see that. My upcoming events, when I did the report, was in-service day. And I think I'm just going to just say it was a really productive day, and I'll write something about that in my next report, because we did several things yesterday that I want to report about next time. So I am going to leave it there and just, again, ditto what Julie said and Dina said. This board, I remember back when you came to Franklin and we did the tour, and you talked about really committing to working together and still allowing each community to have its special things. So, you know, certain things that are really important to Swanton and things that might be important to Highgate or to Franklin, and just really coming together for all the kids, but still allowing each school to have its own identity. And I just think that you've really done a wonderful job doing that. And just want to thank you, because I will say I was nervous about it. and it's a lot different having this size of a board compared to the 3-member board in Franklin. But it's really been a pleasure. So thank you. And I am done and muting myself now.
Hey, Clem.
Yes, sir.
Did Don Collins wish you a happy birthday tonight?
No, he actually said I was trying to figure out where I was when I was adjusting my settings. He did wish me a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Clem.
But it's late. Well, thank you, Jay. It was yesterday, but that's okay. I am stretching it out even more this year than I usually do. There'll be many parties later. So thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Joyce, and happy belated birthday. Any
Hey,
questions?
Jay, is she catching up with you? Nope.
Any questions for Joyce? Not seeing any. So at this time, we can move on to Highgate and Yeshua.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Happy belated birthday, Joyce. That's super exciting. So some of the things I was trying to think about before Christmas break, I think we had told you about the snowmen we had hit around the school, and there was 8 that were like the golden snowmen, and they had a little bit of an extra little something. Some staff got really into it, which was really exciting to see. In particular, there was one person I kept seeing back and forth, and she was really trying to find a golden snowman. She worked at it for a couple of days, and I was very proud of her. She did get one, so that was very exciting. But that was certainly fun and brought us up to the break. I think I'm definitely in agreement. It was really nice to have everybody back. I think they really enjoyed the break, a little bit of time off, see some people, just relax. And I think the feel when everyone came back was just really good. Not that it was at all bad beforehand, but you can feel a little different. People, I think, feel that weight off their shoulders a little bit. I certainly echo Joyce. Those couple of days were nice just to figure out staffing. We definitely had a few folks that still remained having to be out, which was not anticipated as many folks, that's for sure. But I think testing took a little bit longer once we're in the crux of everybody trying to get their test results back. But our coaches and interventionists absolutely stepped up. They went into classrooms, no problem, and covered, I mean, honestly, didn't step a beat. And if you know who our interventionists and our coaches are, they are our veteran staff. They are folks who have been in the building a long time and have gone into other positions. And so I think it was great seeing those people really stepping up and being our, senior leaders in the building, so to speak. And I know by Friday, a lot of them were tired and remembering how exhausting the classroom was, but they stepped up. And I think a lot of them enjoyed being back for that moment to remember what it was like being a teacher for so long. I think also we're, like Dina mentioned, we are preparing for STAR 360 data and looking at those assessments to see how our students are progressing. We're scheduling that mostly next week. And our, a few different staff are going to classrooms to help support those assessments going on. So I know we do have an upcoming data day on February 5th, which we might spend some time diving into that data, but that's a district day. We also had a great in-service day yesterday. We chose a social emotional learning focus, really diving into the competencies that were created by our district team. And I think we broke up into different goal areas by staff so that we could be into small groups, really dive into that work, look at some extra resources, and really start thinking about what integration of SEL looks like in a more formal sense. We're certainly doing it throughout the day all the time, but it's nothing formal. And so I think that was a nice focus. And we had Sarah Ward in the afternoon who talked about student engagement by really focusing on executive functioning, which was just great for teachers. They thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, at least our teachers have really, really liked Sarah Ward. And one of those, they just walk away with many ideas to implement in the classroom. And so that was certainly beneficial. So, thank you, Kosha, for arranging that for us, because we certainly folks enjoyed it. You may have heard that Highgate was the next school that we did a little bit of contact tracing last night. It was, I think, honestly, a huge shout out to Julie, who just knew what she was doing and said this, and we did this, and it went very smoothly. I mean, Julie was on the phone with one person. I was line listing. Jen Gagne was calling the Vermont Department of Health. So it really was pretty seamless. So definitely, as I said, shout out to Julie with that. And I certainly want to reiterate, I have been around the education game for a bit, not as many years as others, but I've experienced different boards before. And I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised. I really do feel like you're a very supportive board. And I think I just appreciated the transition back into MVSD schools. And so I certainly appreciate all the effort that you all have been doing. It's certainly not an easy year for any of us. And we all are dealing with those extra COVID-related challenges. So certainly happy School Board Appreciation Month to you all. And I think that is all I have.
Thank you, Yeshua. Any questions for Yeshua or any of the elementary presentations? Not seeing any. Thank you all. And we can move on to new business. First up under new business is review of the community budget input.
So Chris and I just wanted to put this on the agenda to see if anybody had any thing they wanted to add. I know we met briefly after the input meeting last Tuesday. It was great to put together and do something new, especially in this COVID virtual world that we thought might help the community be more involved. And I do think it was pretty successful, and maybe it's something we'll do every year, but I'd love to hear if anybody heard anything since then.
Not seeing any hands raised. Oh, Devin.
So I haven't heard anything. That's why I waited to raise my hand to see if anyone else could answer the question you actually asked. But I was hoping, as we talk about this and then segue into the budget, maybe to put a couple people on the spot. The three things that showed up as having like the highest kind of importance to our community were retaining quality staff, interventions for our struggling students, and then safe and well-maintained school facilities. So, I think this would be a good setting as we go and discuss the budget. If people are able to highlight kind of, where in the budget we've invested in those priorities, I think that'd be very helpful for everyone watching.
Great.
I also agree about the possibility of doing this in the future. I mean, I know we didn't have a lot of people there, but the people were there. There was a lot of participation, and it's definitely something I'd like to see in the future. And the more we do it, I think the more it'll be known, and hopefully we'll get a lot more participation. Don.
I agree with you, Chris, and I think the payoff on this is going to come in February when we usually do that session after we've approved the budget and it's gone to the printers. And I think we'll find that whether people attended or not, they're going to appreciate the fact that there was an opportunity. So I think it should become just part of our regular routine on the budget. I really do.
I'm not seeing any other hands raised. So I believe we can segue into our next item under new business, which is the FY22 budget discussion and possible adoption.
We're both holding our breath.
Well, Devin, you asked a really nice question. I don't know that I'm prepared to do a bottom line, but we can certainly highlight some of the things that are in this budget that cover those bucket areas, right? Having high quality staff, 80+% of our budget is staffing and benefits. I think this board and the negotiations team last time did a really nice job in a very tight circumstances. It was right in the middle of the COVID crisis. And they negotiated an agreement for our teachers and for our support staff. And we're really trying to make strides in being able to recruit and retain high quality teachers and high quality support staff so that we keep good people and train them and keep them. So, that's probably the biggest part of our budget. In terms of intervention, a lot of that is personnel as well. But, I think I've always been impressed by this district, how we have coaches and interventionists that really work with principals and the curriculum coordinator so that there's this tight connection between the curriculum director and the principals and the teachers and what's happening in classrooms. And nothing really falls through the cracks because you have that really good infrastructure, including intervention for students. And one of the things we did add to this budget was using some grant funding to add an intervention position for MVU in an area, I believe it was middle level literacy, that is an area of need, and there wasn't a position there. So we were able to use some grant funding to add to that, because that's, one of the most important things we do, particularly at a middle high school level, where teachers are taught English language arts and they're not necessarily taught how to intervene for students who are struggling and maybe reading a couple years below grade level. So we definitely made that investment this year. In terms of, additionally, we also have added some partial positions to Franklin so we can improve really the offerings for students. So we have added 1 day of art and we have added 1 day of music in this budget. And we have also increased nursing 2 days so that Franklin will have a full-time nurse. And we were able to do that without adding to the budget. We used savings elsewhere in other parts of the budget to make that happen. So it's an opportunity to add, to shift rather than add to the budget, and add services and experiences for our students. Laura, I don't know if you want to talk about facilities.
Sure. I think, I'll echo what some of the facility task force members have said about the work that's happening there, but just the discussions and the level of discussions and the attention that, being stewards of our building, it has grown, I guess I would say, and the team effort that kind of seems to be happening. I feel good that maybe, obviously principals are still taking care of their buildings and they know the day to day, but I hope they feel like we're supporting them and we're having some discussions and working with their facility team to make sure they have what they need and to really try to plan purposefully for the future. So definitely in this budget, just reviewing expenses, working with that team, what are the needs, thinking long term, trying to problem solve different financing mechanisms. I think that there's a lot of work there, properly funding repair and maintenance lines over the course of years, trying to be purposeful in that way so that it doesn't all hit at one point in time, but we do begin to be able to maintain our buildings properly and not let things become reactive or continue to be reactive, but become more proactive in how we're addressing a lot of those issues. So I think a lot of gains are being made. And then obviously the investment to the capital project line that last year was about $100,000 added to that line. This year, another $100,000 to that line to address some of these larger projects. So I think we're headed in a good direction as far as taking good care of our buildings. If anybody has any questions, or do you want me to move on to the actual budget draft?
Looks like we're going to move on to the budget draft.
Okay.
Now, honestly, I don't have a lot to say. This budget draft is what you saw last time. Nothing has changed. In regards to the tax rate, I did unfortunately receive an email about less than 12 hours after I talked to you guys in regards to the equalized pupil numbers. The AOE did send out a revised equalized pupil count, and immediately all the business managers were emailing back saying, whoa, you told us before we could count on the numbers you gave us. They weren't final, but they were probably pretty good, and everybody dropped. Has to do with the poverty calculation that's done at the state level and some other calculations that are done at the state level, but we did drop another 11. So, and we were told, I have the email, bold letters, this is not final. We got another file today. This is not final, but these are the numbers you should be using. So overall, we're down about 16.97 equalized pupils. So that's 11 more than the 5 we were originally anticipating. So the tax rate is still, the equalized tax rate would still be projected to go down even with that new equalized pupil count. It'd still be going down about 1.1 cents. So not a horrible impact, but unfortunately did have an impact since the last time we talked. I apologize for that. We get the information when we get it sometimes.
Laura, you said poverty was a factor that made the change?
We were told that was one of the biggest factors. Some people were questioning the poverty information, which I believe they're identifying as our direct certification. So families that are receiving support services from the state and free reduced price lunch information. Our data, I've checked with Rusty Gregory. We were one of the first school districts to have our data in. He believes our data is good data. He's, cross-referenced with all the appropriate people and reviewed it several times. So I don't believe the issue is with our data. It's more on a state level, this new data collection system that they're using and the people they're relying on, not necessarily a effective system yet. So.
Because historically, our area in the state usually has more poverty than just about any area in the state.
I think it was a problem with data being reported and maybe the agency at the state level or people being responsible for sending that information to the agency of ed. So another problem with state resources, in my opinion, and the way that they're launching these different requirements and protocols. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Again, I think our district is in good shape. I don't want anyone to think that our data is not good data. We're doing what we need to be doing.
No, we're actually very lucky by having that position. Our data is solid, and it's something that has already paid the district back in spades multiple times. But yes, with that drop in equalized pupil, luckily our equalized tax rate is still in the range, still going down, which is what the board was hoping for. We certainly have, we're still at 1.97 expenditure increase. Nothing has changed in the expenditure budget. And we do know that the yield, and that we appreciate the conversation we had last week about the yield and whether to go with the tax commissioner's announced yield, which is represented here. we do expect that this yield will adjust probably quite significantly because it's based on a worst case scenario, as it always is, but I think more so than usual this year. So we can anticipate that our taxpayers' tax rates will improve from here. But what we're presenting to the should you adopt this budget as a proposal for the voters, it would be a worst case scenario. We've tried to be very conservative with all of our numbers.
In the interest of the people that may view this video, I didn't know if you wanted me to share the tax rate page or anything on the screen and kind of walk us through it, or if you think that we've covered that already. I want to be, obviously cognizant of that.
Yeah, I think sharing that would be very good.
I'm not sure if that's big enough. Are you able to see that?
Mhm.
Okay, so we start obviously with our projected expenditures. We can see the fiscal year 21 and the fiscal year 22 proposed. Those expenditures in this draft 6 are increasing by about $747,000. That's an increase of 1.97%. We then take into account the revenues. So we're deducting the revenues to get our projected education spending. As we discussed last week, our projected revenues are estimated to have increased by about 1.8 million, but a majority of that is because of a unreserved fund balance. So a fund balance from previous years, and that increase is primarily due to COVID and stopping our spending, all discretionary spending when school stopped. We continued to pay on contracts and teachers, but most of that became grant funded, the federal grants that were available to us. So after that, we take the revenues into account. We get our education spending, which is currently projected with this draft to be $27,829,396. That's a decrease of about 1.1 million, or $1,105,204. We then take into account the equalized pupils. So we divide our net ed spending by our equalized pupil number, which, as I stated earlier, has gone down about 16.97. That's not a finalized number from the state yet, but we may not have that for another month or so at this point. So that gives us a spending per equalized pupil of $15,258. That's down $460 from last year. We then take into account the property yield, as Julie said, kind of worst case scenario, the 10,763, which right now is down $235, but that will increase. We're just not sure how much when the final tax rates are actually set in June. So that gives us an equalized tax rate of $1.41 or $1.4176. That's actually a decrease as well from last year, about 1.1 cents, a little more than that. And then the final bottom calculation, the part that we don't necessarily have control over, is when the common level of appraisal comes into effect. We do know that that the common levels of appraisals on all of our towns have come down significantly, most significantly in Highgate. And that's due to the value of the homes that are being sold. And so after the CLA, we see Franklin going up less than a cent. It's two hundredths of a cent. Highgate will be going up, or would be going up 6.6 cents. And Swanton would be going up 2.2 cents. Again, that's after the common level of appraisal, which is the portion that this board does not have control over. I will stop sharing if people don't have questions about that, or if anyone does have a question.
I didn't realize that Swanton's common level of appraisal had gone upward. Is that a change since last time, or have I just lost track of it?
Oh no, they all went down. They all went down.
Yeah,
Swanton went from,
yeah,
Swanton, sorry. Can you see them there, Don, on the bottom of the screen?
No, I can.
Okay.
But last year it was 14183, right?
Oh, nope. The common level appraisal on the far left. So that's, you'll see in brackets for Swan, it went from 100.76%. It's going down to 98.39%. What you're seeing
Okay.
on the right is the tax rate, but that's taking all those other variables into consideration.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
If those common levels of appraisal had stayed level, we would not be seeing those increases to those tax rates.
Also, again, this is where the change in the yield, should the yields go up, 150, 250, $300, that's going to help our tax rates. That's really the only change that we can expect from the state. The CLA is pretty set.
Terry.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I found it really helpful that you showed what the CLA was last year and what the CLA is this year, because it really showed the impact of that CLA on the taxes. So thank you for that.
Also, when we market these in our marketing videos, my plan is to be very clear about just the impact of that. So if everything except for the CLA remain constant, this is what the impact would be. We do isolate those factors when we do the presentations.
So are we ready for a motion, or does anybody have some more questions? Seeing no questions, in the motion, we have to say the budget amount and the equalized pupil amount, right?
You can just adopt this budget, Chris, because we'll cover all that in the warning.
Okay. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to adopt our FY22 budget as presented. Terry's a first. Jen's a second. Any discussion?
Chris, I get it.
Seeing Terry.
Sorry, Don, I'll be quick. I just
Go ahead,
wanted to say thank you while the principals are all here. Thank you for the way we have a lot of confidence in that Julie told us that you put into the budget, et cetera. It made it a lot easier to be able to ratify it. So thank you to all of you.
Don.
I'm going to vote for it, but I want to confirm that one thing is in there that was really important to me, and that is that MVU gets the person who will be, I guess, like a coordinator for the personal learning plans, and hopefully that stayed there. I thought it was, but that was very important. A lot of work, a lot of years in legislature to get it through, and some school districts aren't doing very well with it, so I don't want to be one of them.
Thank you for highlighting that, Don. Yes, that's another position that we are using consolidated federal grant money for, that we really think will improve our long-term outcomes for students. So thank you for pointing that out.
When it wasn't mentioned, I thought, I wonder if somewhere it went by the boards, and I thought, no, I'm not going to let them off the hook. They're going to give me a yes or no. So I'm glad it's there. It's a very valuable, I think it'd be very valuable.
Any other?
I just wanted to follow up on my previous question, Julie and Laura. Thanks for the information. I think it's really important that the community knows that the things that are priorities to them are active priorities for our board and our administrators and for you guys. And so thanks for linking the budget to those priorities. It's important the community understands that it's this budget that supports that work and to accomplish the priorities that we all have as a community.
Not seeing any other hands raised. So at this time, I believe we are ready to vote. All those in favor of adopting the FY22 budget as presented, raise your hand. Motion carries 8-0. Thank you very much. So next up for new business, we have the town meeting day agenda warning, which we'll also need action for.
And Chris, I'm going to present it. So will that make it easier for people to read it, or?
Yes, just a sec. I just saw Pierrett's hand up.
I just wanted to say, I think that the total should be in that motion, and I'm going to add it as long as everybody's okay with my adding what the total of the budget is. But I really think it should be in there. I believe that in the past, we've had auditors actually look for the motion with the total amount. So I don't think it's just approval of the warning. I think it also has to be in that motion. So if you're all okay with me putting the amount, I'm going to add that to the motion.
Yep, I'm good with that. Okay, yes, presenting it would be great, so I can get a motion started for it.
Do you want to read it, Chris?
Yeah, I can. I was just trying to get it so I can see it.
Okay.
All right. The legal voters of the Missisquoi Valley School District, consisting of the towns of Franklin, Highgate, and Swanton, are hereby notified and warned to meet to transact the following business by Australian ballot in their respective polling places, hereinafter named for each of the above referenced towns on March 2nd, 2021, at the polling places and times hereinafter listed. Article 1, to elect from the legal voters of said district the following officers. A moderator for the term of 1 year, a clerk for the term of 1 year, a treasurer for the term of 1 year, an MVSD school director for the term of 3 years from Franklin, an MVSD school director for the term of 3 years from Highgate, and an MVSD school director for the term of 3 years from Swanton. Article 2, shall the voters of the Missisquoi Valley School District approve the school directors to expend $38,653,476, which is the amount the school directors have determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. It is estimated that this proposed budget, if approved, will result in educational spending of $15,258 per equalized pupil. This projected spending per equalized pupil is 2.92% lower than spending from the current year. Article 3. Shall the voters of the Missisquoi Valley School District authorize the board of directors of the said school district to borrow money to pay the current expenditures in anticipation of taxes and to sign notes for that purpose? Article 4. Shall the voters of the Missisquoi Valley School District authorize the board of directors to provide notice of availability of the annual report by posting the availability on the school directors' websites and social media, in the designated newspaper, and by providing physical copies at the schools, town offices, and superintendent's office, and by making the report available by mailing upon request, not less than 10 days prior to the district's annual meeting. Said persons and voters warned are further notified that voter for qualification, registration, absentee voting, and voter procedures shall be in accordance with Chapter 43 and 51 of Title 17 VSA. The legal voters of the school district are further notified that an informational meeting will be held virtually via Zoom on February 23rd at 7 p.m. for the purpose of explaining the budget items to the voters. The link to access this virtual meeting will be posted on the MVSD website and social media by noon on February 12th, 2021. Polling places and times for Franklin is at the Franklin Town Hall, 5167 Main Street, Franklin, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Highgate will be the Highgate Sports Arena, 243 Gore Road, Highgate Center, also 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Swanton's polling place will be Swanton Village Municipal Complex, First and Elm Streets in Swanton from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to accept our town meeting day article warnings.
Chris,
Don.
let's go back to, if I can get my cursor to work, the issue about whether reports are going to be available. I believe that should be superintendent apostrophe S. I don't know if it's a big deal or not, but we don't have multiple superintendents. If we do, somebody's working for nothing.
We can make that change. But you should be able to adopt the warning.
Okay, I'll accept a motion to accept this warning as read. I can't, Terry's the first. Devin's the second. I can't see everybody, so I don't know if anybody has any discussion, though. Perfect. Thank you, Julie. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of adopting the article warnings as read, raise your hand. Motion carries 8-0. Thank you.
I will need everyone to come in and sign this document at their earliest, absolute earliest convenience, please. If I can bring it to you, I'm happy to do that as well. If you let me know where that might be easier. I am in Highgate on Thursday morning, if that helps anyone. I go there every morning to meet with Georgette. But I'm happy to go wherever to get this signed so we can post it.
Okay.
Laura, are you in the office tomorrow morning?
Yes.
Laura, when you say Highgate, you're at the
30. I could stop in.
Sorry, Peter. I didn't hear what you said, Peter. I'm sorry. And then Scott, I think you were talking too.
I just said I'm going to be in Swanton around 8:30. I could stop in tomorrow morning.
Sure. Okay.
Steve, what were?
No, I was just asking, you said you're going to be in Highgate. I assume the school.
I'm at Georgette's house actually, but I can stop at the school Thursday
No,
morning.
I have to, Kiana goes to daycare there, so I can meet you there. What time are you going to be there?
I'm usually there around 10:30 on Thursday morning.
Okay, that won't work. I'll meet you at the office.
Okay.
Okay. Not seeing any other hands raised, so at this time we can move on to approval of. Oh, we don't need to approve this, but this is just to show everyone the town meeting day ballot. This was part of the agenda amendments at the beginning.
Right. We do have, let me share it. Internet is slow today. I don't know why. Could just be me that's slow today. It is possible. So we do, we wanted to share this with you. People do have until the 25th of this month to submit their interest. Purette, you got to remind me what the name of the certificate.
Consent of candidate form.
Consent of candidate form. We do have our clerk's name highlighted because we do not have that right at this moment. But we do have confirmation from everyone else that is on the ballot. We have Tobias McGuire from Swanton submitted his consent. I've forgotten already, but his paperwork.
He is sending it. He told me he has but we'll be receiving it, but he confirmed with me that it has been sent. So, and it's consent of candidate form.
He's online. He's in the meeting.
I know. Consent of candidate. I'm writing it down again. Can't even tell you. And so you see all the articles are represented there. But we just wanted to make sure that you were able to review it. And Laura, we will have to get that out basically the day that all the paperwork is due, correct?
Just about, yep.
So thank you for that.
Peter?
So might be a good time to discuss. I believe they just passed legislation allowing towns to send out all the ballots. So I know Franklin is going to discuss this in our next meeting, whether we're going to send them all out or not. And there is funding, I understand, available for that. And talking to our legislators, they are encouraging us to do so because they're really trying to, like the election we had this fall, try to get as many people to mail in their ballots as possible so we don't have a lot of people congregating at the polls on town meeting day. So it's just something to think about. We're going to have to make a decision on that.
Well, it's a really tight turnaround. I'm appreciative. I've heard from Lisa and I've heard from Wendy in Highgate. I have not heard from Swanton. I did reach out to them about their thoughts. Obviously, I have not heard that anybody's moving town meeting day, but with this change, I will call tomorrow to see if there is any interest. I do know that we have, because we'll need to know, we have preliminary conversations with Highgate about what they wanted to do. And they gave us an estimate of how many ballots that they would want for mail-in, requests. We did confirm with people that should we be mailing out, that we would be sending them all together. So what do you think your, because that would just mean printing a lot more, typically more ballots.
And our deadline.
I'm sorry, Laura, go ahead.
Just to say our deadline, our firm deadline is the 27th. So we have to place our order by the 27th. We could anticipate ordering obviously more and order all absentees if we don't have good information by then, just to be cautious, but that is our deadline for printing.
Just speaking for Franklin, we'll have a decision on Thursday on which way we will go. And like I said, we're being asked to really think hard to consider it for COVID reasons, but there is no interest in moving town meeting.
Yeah. That's helpful because the training that I went to that the Vermont School Board Association put on was really clear that, it doesn't really help towns unless everybody chooses a different date together, because otherwise then this board would be deciding what date you want to have. And if it doesn't align, it doesn't matter. You don't have 3 different school district vote days. You have one day. And so even if a town wanted it to be in April or May, and this board said, no, we're going to do it on town meeting, then the towns would be helping us with those votes on town meeting. So I think it's great that they made options for towns and school districts, but if you're not doing it collaboratively together, that becomes a problem.
I think all the towns in our district have worked very hard to meet the goal of town meeting like we always do.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking none of them are going to want to change that.
Yes, that's my expectation as well.
Thank you. Jay.
Chris, just a quick question, and Don, maybe you can help me out on this. For many years, I recall there used to have to be an article in every warning that made the school's facilities available to the communities. Is that no longer a part of the warning?
We actually took that out of the warning because we already have policies in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we can move on. And we actually don't have a whole lot more. We have no old business. We have some other business, which is COVID updates.
Really, Yeshua just sort of covered it. We did get some information last night. We couldn't notify anyone officially until this morning because we had to wait until the health department officially called it a case. And because it was a holiday, I think that delayed their notification. So we were pretty lucky because it was very narrow in scope. And so it was really a pretty straightforward situation. And again, I was last night when I called the school nurse and asked her how she was, it was like, well, great, until I get a call from the superintendent at 5 o'clock at night on my cell phone. I know it's not going to be a good evening, but everybody just followed the plan. We have a drive where all of the documents we need to do, all of the information is all together. So it's very streamlined. And unfortunately, this is one of those things that you get good at when you wish you didn't have to. But what it does point out is how calm and skilled and what good communication all of our administrators have when they're going through what can be a very stressful time. So it was pretty smooth this time.
Thank you. I don't see any hands raised. Okay. Don.
Are we on other business or?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to ask.
Don, you muted yourself.
Yep. Jay, what's the most current status of winter sports?
Oh, sorry, I muted myself too. On Friday, the governor announced that athletic teams, sports teams would be able to move to what's known as phase 2. That means that you're still practicing fully masked. You are able to have what they call incidental contact. So we're still trying to figure out what that means. I guess if you're playing ice hockey and you see somebody skating along the board, you can take a run at them now. And you may scrimmage within your cohort intra-squad. So our boys basketball team can scrimmage itself. Our girls basketball team, our hockey teams can scrimmage itself. There is as yet no clearance for inter-squad or competition as we're accustomed to knowing it. And my understanding in talking to John is that's probably the weekend of the 29th or 30th before we get more clarification on that.
Yep.
Thank you, Jay. It's kind of interesting. We're building budgets, we're doing facilities, but the question that I've heard on the street was more about sports than it was, how's your budget coming, or how are you building? So I figured I'd ask the man that would know. Thank you.
They never ask how your calculus classes are, Don. You know that.
I know that.
I just want to join in on what Don was saying. I agree, Don. I've heard a lot about sports, people wanting to know about the athletics in both the elementary and in the secondary school setting. So
I will say, Don, I sent an email to the VPA yesterday Because now that our athletes can have close contact with one another, I want to know why our vocal and music programs can't.
Mm-hmm.
That continues to be a challenge. And they're aware of it. They hear from us regularly about it. But hopefully we'll be able to do some things in the spring if things improve.
Okay. Any other business? Seeing no hands raised, our next meeting will be, well, that's a typo. Let's see, our next meeting will be February 2nd, and it will be held virtually. Let me pull my agenda back up. And at this time,
Nope.
yeah, I was good. We don't need a executive session. So unless somebody has something to add, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Chris?
Peter, you have something to add, or your motion into adjourn?
Well, I'm going to make a strange motion to adjourn here. So I just want to say, you all know I'm a big Buffalo Bills fan, and adjourning is kind of like saying goodbye. And if anybody's ever been to Buffalo, I don't know if they have or if they've lived in Buffalo, people in Buffalo don't say goodbye. When they part, they say, "Go Bills." So my motion tonight is go Bills. I'm hoping Devin will second
Yeah,
me.
wait, I've been in Buffalo. I lived in Buffalo and went to school in Buffalo, and I never said go Bills to say goodbye, just saying.
I'll second just so I can go on the record voting no.
So at this time, we have a motion to adjourn by saying go Bills. First is a Peter, second to Devin. All those in favor, raise your hand.
The Bills are going to need all the help they can get, so I'm voting yes.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate that.
So, and no's. So the motion carries 7-1. Thank you very much.